Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to our Working with Investors training. This is part of our Elite Master training series. My name is Robert Rodriguez, and I'll be your instructor today. We do have an exciting class today, which is being recorded, and I will share with you the recording afterwards. So just sit back and relax, ask questions. If you have any questions, you can ask questions via the chat. Today, we're going to go over the different type of investment properties that we can find, how we can analyze these properties, and find out the potential returns for our investors, our customers. All right, so let's go ahead and begin inside of our MLS. We are going to cover the services of the MLS. We're also going to use RPR, which is another service that's available to you through the Miami Association of Realtors. And we're also going to talk about auction websites. How can we find properties inside of auction websites? All right, so let's begin by logging into the MLS, which is Matrix. And we're going to run a very simple search for a single family home. So that would be RE1, RE2. We are going to select active. We're going to select single family for the property type. And then go ahead and select single for type of property. Now we're going to begin our search in Miami-Dade County. So for county, we're going to select Miami-Dade County. And then what we're going to do is go down to the additional fields section. And we want to go ahead and select REO or add. If you don't have it already, you want to add REO because we're trying to look for foreclosed properties. We want to find banks that are unloading their foreclosed properties at a huge discount. So by adding REO to our additional fields, then we're going to select yes for REO. We are left with 12 matches in Miami-Dade County. All right, so that's 12 possible results that we can use. We're going to go ahead and click on results. And here we have our 12 single family homes in Miami-Dade County that are currently listed as foreclosed properties. Now you'll notice they come in very different price ranges. The lowest amount is $250,000, and there's actually a very large mega mansion for sale at $24,900,000, which is under foreclosure as well. We're going to begin with the very first one right here. Let's click on it and let's study a little bit about this property. This is a single family home in Northwest Miami-Dade County. It's got 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom, and the square footage on the property is 1,559 square feet. Now, by clicking on the photos, you can pretty much get an idea of what the house looks like. Unfortunately for this house, they do not have any interior photos. Scrolling down, you'll see here, it says calling all investors. This property is located in the heart of Liberty City, and it has 1,559 square feet, single family home, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and it is being sold as is. Underneath, you're going to see how many days on the market. So this property has been on the market only for 1 day. They are paying 2.5% commission. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the top. And it's always good practice to click on property history, just to make sure that the history is only 1 day, because sometimes you'll see a canceled or expired listing prior to the current listing, and that days on market is really longer than just 1 day. In this case, it's only really been on the market for 1 day. All right, so there are several programs that we'd like to use. First, we need to find out what the market value for a single family home this size is in this market. So for that, we can do one of two things. We can actually use IMAP or RPR. Now, IMAP is this little symbol up here, or you can click on the folio number. That's also going to open up IMAP. And then later on, we are going to open up RPR, which is this symbol right here. And we're going to analyze the investment returns on a property like this. We're going to go ahead and click on IMAP, and we want to run a comparable, a CMA on this property. All right, so going to the right-hand side, we are going to click on Find Comparables. And using the criteria of 20% difference in lot size and 20% difference in living area, located within half a mile and sold within the last 6 months, we are left with 2 comps. We have comp number 1, which sold at $460,000. This is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,427 square foot home. And then we have comp number 2, which is $425,000. This is a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, and it's also smaller, coming in at 1,413 square feet. So between both comps that we just found, we're looking at an average of $485,700 for this property, which is currently for sale at $250,000. All right, so can you clearly see that there is a difference, right? There's a huge discount on the property being sold at $250,000 when it could possibly be worth more than $400,000. Now, of course, to get it to be worth more than $400,000, you are going to have to spend some money in renovating the property. So let's say we were to buy this property today at $250,000. Let's open up RPR. So RPR is right here, this symbol. And we're going to go ahead and click on RPR. That's going to now open this program. Inside of RPR, you'll notice they have an AVM, which is an automated valuation model of 350. Now, the AVM is not the most reliable source for your value. The AVM actually has 1 star out of a possible 5. If you see here RVM, which is a Realtor's valuation model, then that would be a more reliable price, probably coming in between 4 and 5 stars. So don't trust this price. Look at the price we got on RPR. Also, take a look. Your range goes from 250 pretty much to 455. All right, so we're going to use the value that we got from RPR, sorry, from IMAP, and we're going to go ahead and scroll down, and we're going to click on Evaluate right here. This tool right here is going to allow us to analyze the investment potential for this property. So by clicking on Evaluate and then clicking on Continue, we're going to land inside of this page. Now, there are 2 ways that we can evaluate investment returns on a property. One is if you are planning to buy and flip the property for a profit, or if you're planning to buy and rent the property long term. We're going to go ahead and begin first with a flip scenario. So you click on flip, and then right here, you need to estimate what the full year holding cost would be for this property. So once again, we need to find out what the taxes would be for this property, what the insurance would be for this property, and any other utilities that you need to pay in order to keep the property up and running for, let's say, the next 6 months. So we're going to return back to Matrix. And again, we're going to click on IMAP, and we want to see what the property taxes are. All right, so the property taxes are about $4,700, right? Last year's taxes, $4,684. So let's just call it a cool $5,000. And let's estimate that the insurance cost would be right around, say, $3,000. So we're now looking at $8,000 for combined taxes and insurance. And then minimal utilities. You need to have electricity. You need to have water running in the property. Let's go ahead and put it at $250 per month. So $250 per month times 12, you're going to get $3,000. So our estimated holding costs for this property is about $11,000 for the full year. Now, of course, we don't plan on holding it for a full year. However, in order for these numbers to work, you must plug in the full year holding costs. Then we're going to go ahead and say we're buying this property September 1st. And we plan on holding the property for 6 months. So once held for 6 months, then we can sell it for a profit. So here we're going to estimate what percentage we're going to finance. Now, these kinds of deals usually require cash only sale, but you can always use a hard money lender. Hard money lenders normally will loan you up to 80%. There are some lenders out there that will loan you up to 100% of the value of the property. But we're not going to do 100%. We're going to put in here a scenario where the lender loans us 80% of the value of the property at an 11% interest rate. Keep in mind, this interest rate is a higher interest rate because it is a short-term loan. Do not try and get a conventional or FHA loan for this type of transaction because you will lose money. All right. If you need financing, you need to go through the hard money lender route. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and click on submit. Next, we're going to go ahead and visit the purchase and sale tab that you see up here. All right. And then we need to add a renovation budget. Now I'm going to return to Matrix. Unfortunately, there aren't many photos that we can see, and there isn't any history either. But considering some of these photos that we see here, let's say that we have to do a full renovation job. Let's say that we need to spend $100,000 to renovate this property. Going back over here, we're going to add 100,000 to the renovation budget. All right. That's a lot of money. However, we're going to leave this property really, really nice. All right. And then the closing costs. What is the closing cost of $250,000? Let's go ahead and estimate just 3% of the budget. So we're looking at $250,000 times 3% for closing costs. We're looking at $7,500 in closing costs. All right, so we have here 100,000 in renovation budget, and we have a closing cost of $7,500. And we are going to now move over here to the right-hand side. And what would be our gross valuation sales price? So being that IMAP says somewhere between 460 and 500,000, I'm going to go ahead and say 460. All right, let's go ahead and put in here 460 for the sale of the property. And then that's within 6 months. And then the selling cost, which is the commission that the seller is going to pay to list the property, is going to be 6%. Of course, if this is your own investment, then you are not going to charge yourself 6% to sell the property. You're usually going to only charge yourself 3%. So with these numbers, we're looking at a profit margin if you pay in cash of 15%. You're making $69,400 in profit after all expenses. Buying the property at $250, paying the closing costs, spending $100,000 to renovate the property, and selling it at $460, you're looking at 15% profit. If you have to finance, then you're looking at 11.5% profit, or $53,684. All right. Now, we can better these numbers, of course, two ways. One, we can cut down our renovation budget, or we can go ahead and increase our sales price at the end of the 6-month period. Now, it's easier for me to cut the renovation budget than to increase this number here. I went towards the bottom of our CMA average. I don't want to get too crazy and say this property is worth $500,000, right? So we're gonna go ahead and come over here and say, you know what, 100,000 was just a little too much, and let's put in here 60,000 in renovations, which is still a lot of money, but that now brings us up over 20% in profit. All right, so that seems like a better number, doesn't it? You're looking at 23.7% profit on this property if you spend 60,000 renovating. That's $109,400 in your pocket. And if you have to finance, then that number goes down to 20.75%, which is still a very healthy profit of $95,443 on this deal. So this property is on the market now for 1 day. All right, it is going to sell, and it's probably going to sell very quickly. So my recommendation is that if you do have investors who are into flipping, this is something that you must get into. Of course, due diligence, that's really your responsibility. You guys need to run title searches. You need to search for liens, violations, all of that good stuff is not included in this training. However, you do need to do your due diligence and make sure this property is clear and ready to purchase. You can go on from that property and then visit another one. So here's another property. I went ahead and I clicked on next. And this property is for sale 465. Quickly just jumping into IMAP right here. Notice that this is currently owned by Wells Fargo. And the foreclosure took place back in March of this year for $404,000. Clicking on find comparables, you will see this property has a few comparables in the area, bringing its value between 531 all the way up to 672 with an average of 605. Once again, it is for sale at 465 with only a few pictures. All right, once again, a property that is for sale way below its market value. Now, we did all of this by running an REO search. Remember, you went ahead and selected active listing, single family home, Miami-Dade County, and then underneath the additional fields, we selected REO. Yes. All right, that's one way that you guys can find undervalued properties in the MLS. Now, there are other ways to find undervalued or good deals, and that's using the auction websites like miamidade.realforeclose.com. miamidade.realforeclose.com is the official foreclosure and tax deed sales for the clerk of Miami-Dade County. Now, once in this page, and if you want to switch over to Broward or Palm Beach or any other county, you can do that by going to the bottom left, opening that little slider, and then you can go ahead and select Broward foreclosures. You can select, any other county that you see here. And then once you do that, it does switch over to that particular county. All right, now here it's a different type of purchase. Of course, these are auction properties. And if you want to read more on how the auction works, you can click on start here and you can pretty much find out how the auction works and you can register for the auction here. Anyone can participate in an auction here. It's not just for realtors, but also any investor can register and participate in an auction. These auctions are online, they're not in person, and there are limits to how much you can pay for the property. You can set yourself limits, and there is a required deposit that needs to be put in 24 hours before the auction date. And if you happen to win the auction, then you are required to pay the full amount 24 hours after the purchase date. So again, be ready. Go here to the auction calendar. take a look at one of the properties is for sale. So for example, checking in with the auction that's occurring today. Here we have, all right, the auction. It already took place actually at 9:05 in the morning today. This property sold to an investor, third party bidder at $300,100. So let's go back and let's select, let's say next Monday. All right, August 7th. So you'll see these auctions are all scheduled online for 9 o'clock in the morning. You will be competing against the plaintiff, which is the bank or the mortgage holder. Sometimes they have interest in purchasing back the property, and you will be competing against other investors. Most of these are sight unseen, meaning that you cannot visit the property. So your due diligence is very important. Other auction websites are like auction.com. There's also xome.com or zome.com. There's also hubzoo.com. These are all auction websites where banks and property owners will place their properties up for auction. You will have to submit a deposit and you will have to comply with the rules and regulations of the auction, which in some cases means paying in full by a specific date and time. Of course, if you pay a deposit and you do not win your auction, in all cases, that deposit is returned to you in the same format, whether it be wired, transfer, or in form of a check. All right, now other ways that we can find investment properties using the MLS is looking for rental income properties. Now, rental income properties come in different sizes. You can search for RIN or multifamily. Those are duplex, triplex, and fourplex properties. Or to search for more than 4 units, you will switch over to COM, which is commercial improved. That's your larger scale multifamily, like your 6-unit, 8-unit, 10-unit buildings that you can purchase and of course rent out. Now we're going to begin with something very simple, which is the RIN or residential income property here, multifamily property. And we are going to look for only active listings. So let's remove here the coming soon and active with contracts. And let's put in here the fourplex. We're going to look for a 4-unit building, again, in Miami-Dade County. Now let's put in here a top price of $1.5 million. All right, let's go $1.5 million or less. And we're looking at 40 matches. We're going to go ahead and click on results. And here are our 4-unit properties for sale in Miami-Dade County for less than $1.5 million. Let's go ahead and open this one here. This one is a property in Southwest Miami-Dade County, Southwest 117th Avenue and 222nd Street. Taking a look at this property, it is for sale at $920,000. And it has here income listed as $950, $950, $1,110, and $1,100. That's a little low. It says here, great 2-story fourplex with all units currently rented. This multifamily property has great potential and consists of 2 bedrooms of 2 1-1s and 2 2-1s. Let's say I am now the new owner of this property, or I am buying this property. I will be raising some of these rents. These rents seem to be a little low. And I'm going to try and analyze the return on this property. So again, you want to open up RPR. It says no results. I'm sure there is a result. Let's go ahead and go back here. Let's click on RPR. And here we go. All right, so you see that there's a huge difference here on that RVM or AVM of 552 and that list price. So I definitely want to try and find some comparables. So here's where I'm going to show you how to run a comparable in RPR. And if you joined me in my training last week, we did cover the RPR system. So I'm going to go ahead and click on CMA right here. And then we're going to click on confirm facts, and we're going to click on confirm facts and close. Our next step is to click on find comparables. We are currently looking for multifamily homes. We are going to expand our search to 6 months, and we're going to include lot size. And let's go ahead and click on search. We did get one comparable, which is our neighbor. Notice there's a neighbor right here. We got one comparable. Selecting that, you're right around 759. All right, so you're not at 920, you're right around 750. We're going to modify this search, and we're going to say, let's look in 1 year, 12 months. See if there's any other results. There is no other results. That's our only comparable that we have. So based on the last sale, 759, we are not going to pay $920,000 for this property. Now, the property seems to be nicely taken care of. All right, of course, we don't see the inside because they're rented. All right, but it looks like they have hurricane shutters, hurricane windows. It's a nice looking property. So let's go back up here and let's open up. All right, so we have our comps, right? We have our comps. We're looking at 760. We're going to go ahead and return to the property information. And let's scroll down just a bit here, and let's look for, again, the Valuate tool, which is assigned to every single property you find in RPR. Always look to the middle lower right here. Underneath additional resources, look for Valuate. Let's click on Valuate, then continue. All right. And this is no longer a flip scenario. Right away, the system recognizes it's a multi-family home, and our investment is to buy and rent. So, purchase price. Let's go a little bit more aggressive than that CMA value that we saw. Let's pay them $800,000. All right, so about $125,000 less than what they were asking for. This is a 4-unit building. Now we have to go ahead and estimate the gross potential rent off of this property. So going back to Matrix, you're going to notice that they are renting the 1-1s for $950. Let's say I raise the 1-1s to $1,050. All right, $1,050 each. And then they're renting the 2-1s for $1,100. Let's raise that. Let's raise that to, say, $1,300. All right, so we're looking at $1,300. Now, you got to know the area, right? I mean, a 2-1 in the heart of Miami or in like Brickell downtown will probably go for $2,000. But you got to know the area, and I really don't know this area, but with the rent being so low here, I cannot imagine a 2-1 renting for $2,000 there. So we're gonna say 1,300 times 2, that's 2,600, right? And then we said that we're gonna go with 1,050 for the 1-1s. That brings our grand total to $4,700. All right, so let's go ahead and come back over here and put in here 4,700 times 12 is $56,400. And that is our gross potential rent. Now, what is our operating expenses and reserves? I mean, right off the bat, guys, I'm going to tell you, this is not going to make sense. I mean, you're looking at $56,400 gross potential rent without counting for expenses, and you're paying $800,000 for this property. So this type of property should be getting at least $80,000 in gross rent, but we're not, because maybe rent is very low in that area. Who knows, right? We got to study that. Coming over here, expenses and reserves. So once again, we need to go find out taxes on this property and what other expenses the rent includes. So taking a look here, there are separate meters, so they pay their own electricity, they pay their own water. And looking at what the rent includes lawn care and trash removal. So those are two things that the landlord needs to pay aside from taxes and insurance. So what are the taxes last year? Taxes were $6,657. So let's go ahead and say taxes will increase to $7,000. Insurance on a property like this is probably somewhere around $6,000. So 7 plus 6 is $13,000. And then again, trash removal and lawn care. Let's go ahead and say combined, we're looking at $200 a month, right? So $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year. 24 on top of 13, we're looking at $15,400 for our total expenses. So $15,400 is our total operating expenses. We are going to always leave the annual growth rate to 3%. We're going to say we're purchasing this again in September. And we're going to hold it for 10 years. And we're going to take out an 80% loan on the property. So 20% down at a interest rate of 7%. And then click on submit. All right, so let's see what the numbers give us. We're looking at an internal rate of return of almost 40%. You know what? These numbers didn't come out right. You see this net cash flow here of $18 million? That all means right there, we have to start all over. All right, unfortunately, something happened. So let's take this opportunity and show you how to begin the study again. So you go up here to file, new file. All right, this is a multi-family property. All right, we're gonna call this 1, and we're gonna call this 1 again. All right, so we're gonna give it a property name 1, scenario number 1. All right, square footage on the property. 2375. So come over here, 2375. Purchase price, we talked about paying $800K for this property. Number of units in this property is 4. All right, our gross potential income, I think it was $56,400. And then we were looking at the operating expenses being somewhere around $15,400. With our annual growth at 3%. Purchasing the property on September 1st, holding it for 10 years, getting an 80% loan on the property at 7% interest rate, and only one investor. So unfortunately, we did have to begin again because those numbers were not making sense at all. I don't know where they got that $18 million from. All right, but I think we're going to be in good shape now. Let's go ahead and click on purchase and sale. Much better, guys, much better. So we have a net cash flow here, unlevered, a net cash flow of 508,000, and levered, which means if you finance, you have a net cash flow of 220,000. This means that after 10 years, you would have made $508,000 off of your $800,000 investment. That leaves you at 6.4% internal rate of return. So it does not get you 100% return on your investment, right? 6.42 times 10 is 64%. So 508,000 is 64%. return on your investment in a 10-year period. It does leave you with a positive cash flow of 6.4%. Now, if you finance, you are, of course, putting in less money out of pocket. And in this case, you're making $220,000 return on your investment. And that's actually a higher rate of return of 7.3%. So 7.3 times 10, that is 73% return your investment. So you put less of your money down, upfront out of pocket, and you make more. So that's usually the case. No one should be buying multifamily properties cash, right? If you have the cash, maybe you want to buy several multifamily properties, because if you finance, even if the interest rates are high, you're still looking at a very healthy return. If that's the case, if you want percentages, you're looking at a very healthy return on this property. Now, when we're not looking at 100% returns, because obviously we would have to raise the rents, right? I mean, we need to get more out of this property, and we did raise the rents. I just don't know how much more we should raise rents. And most importantly, guys, in order for us to achieve this number of 7.3%, our average cash on cash return is above zero. So it is at 0.81%. That means we are not putting out of our pocket monthly or yearly to make ends meet. If this average cash on cash was negative, that means that we actually have to, the owner, right, has to put out of pocket in order to make this number realistic. Now, we're not done yet. Purchase and sale. We have to account for, of course, closing costs. So what's your closing costs? Say 3% of $800,000. All right, that's going to take a very large chunk off of our profit, and you will see. So $24,000 is our estimated closing costs, and you are now just under breaking even in your average cash on cash, and your internal rate of return is still at a positive 6.2%. So again, adding the closing costs did make a difference over here. There are several factors that take into place. Let's say we do buy this at $750. Let's say that list price is just too high. All right, and then we bring this this closing cost, bring it down to, let's say, $22,000. All right, we are now looking at, a different story. We're looking at 8.8% internal rate of return with almost a 2% cash on cash. So work these numbers, guys. Go to cash flow, see what your monthly cash flow is, what your yearly cash flow is, and present this to your customer. Or let's say that your interest rate is not 7, it's 6.5. Go to the sources of funds, and then instead of 7%, switch it to 6.5. All right, and that, of course, does make a difference. Now we're looking at 9.1% internal rate of return with 2.3% cash on cash. To present this to your customer, you click on File, Export, and you can always export into a PDF file. You can also export into Excel. All right, so there are many ways that you guys can create exports. All right, so again, we have the Valuate tool, which is inside of every property in RPR, whether it be flipping a property, a single family, a condo, a multifamily, or even larger scaled properties with more units. Now, to search for those larger scaled unit properties, you're going to go to search, you're going to go to commercial. And we are going to look for to purchase apartment buildings right there, apartments. You're also going to scroll down a little bit on that property type and hold down that control key or command key and select residential multifamily. All right, now that we have our multifamilies selected, we click on Miami-Dade County. Let's say we don't want to spend more than $2 million. So we go 2 million minus, you got 36 matches. Click on results. Here's some of the multifamily properties for sale for less than $2 million. So let's see what we have here for $2 million. What is this? So this is, how many units is this? This is an 8 unit. All right. And in most cases, guys, they're not going to tell you what the income is. You're going to have to contact the listing agent and find out more finances or more, information on the financials. Here they're telling you that the residential units have an NOI, net operating income of $70,000. Again, I'd like to see that in a presentation style. Most agents will do that. We'll give it to you in an attached file. This agent did not. So let's go to another property here. All right, and let's see. This is a 6-unit multifamily. This is in Miami, Little Havana section of Miami. And we don't have any information on its income. All right, so I'm just trying to find one that does so I can show you what it looks like. Nobody has attachments. All right, we have an attachment there. All right, so you see this here? All right, they have all these numbers. And then we're going to go up here. We're going to click on the attachment. And you see right there, presentation. Click on that presentation and it should show you exactly what we're talking about. Having it in some type of presentation where they tell you what the asking price is, what the financials are on the property, expenses, etc. All right. So it's a full presentation on the property. And once again, you found that by clicking on the attached file up here. And then it's your turn to go and try and analyze the property listed at $1,650,000 with this income per month, and then times 12 months. And then you have to apply the expenses, taxes, insurance, whatnot, and you're going to get your net operating income on the property. All right, guys, so this is the different ways that we can find investment properties on the MLS. Also, make sure that if you are looking for properties on a discount, you use some of these auction websites. They are tricky purchases. In most cases, you can't even go see the property, but you are buying properties at huge discounts. All right, inside the chat, I'm going to go ahead and share with you my contact information as always. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me either via text message or email, and I'd be more than happy to assist you. All right, so that is going to conclude our training for today. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week for our next training.